Okay. Yeah, well, welcome to Office Hours. My name's Derek, and I am a technical evangelist for Dendron, and I'll be leading these office hours. I'm here with Kevin, the founder, and community members. And this is our first time where we're making use of also the Discord event notifications. Otherwise, we're on Luma for registration. And so now you can kind of see them in both places, and the Luma events will be linking pretty much to those little links in the Discord events, so to make it easy for people to hop right in. And yeah, I shared in the Tea Time chat channel where we have the Google Doc we'll be taking a look at, and same with that location of where we put office hour stuff in our wiki. But the general format is that it's going to be going over the highlights of the past the releases between office hours, and then really a Q&A.
Yeah, and also I'd like to say hi to Amar, who just joined. Welcome to Office Hours. And I know that last time on Discord you were having issues with the asset prefix. Do let us know if that is still an issue, and I have some time I can look into that today.
Brilliant, thanks. Great to be here. Great to see you as well.
Cool. And in the meantime, I just started sharing my screen, which is just a look at what that Google Doc looks like. But yeah, I guess I'm going to just probably jump right in so that we could take a look at these features. All right, so here I have a workspace, and I have a little agenda item here. That's really a reflection of what we see inside of that Google Doc. And the first thing is I'm just going to talk about template variables. Now, we have the ability to add date variables inside of templates so that when you import it, they're current date variables so that they could expand instead of you having to go, I'm going to have to type in this date somewhere in my template. And an example of this I could show is with some daily journals. Now, if I might have just made this, so I want to delete it. And let's go take a look at what the template actually looks like. Here I'm making use of the 5-minute journal template, which we have a recent blog post about, and a docs update. And at the top, I'm including current year, current month, current day, and these are ones that will actually be expanded to their appropriate values when you insert the template somewhere. And I have a schema that's right now tied to the daily journal. And so daily journal, why don't I actually toggle my screencast on here so that you can see my shortcut keys. But Control-Shift-I automatically creates a new journal entry for the current day. And in this case, you can see I no longer see those variables. I instead actually see what they render to for the appropriate current day values. They're meant to kind of be the double-digit format. We just have a little bug that's raised. So what you see for these single digits, that's going to be changed. But that's a quick look at... Oh, go ahead, Kevin. Sound like you're going to say something.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to highlight like one use case for all the managers out there. Also, hello Ryan, welcome for joining. Is that so what I do in my daily journal is at Dendron, instead of stand-ups, we do daily journals for the whole company. So everybody keeps a daily journal of like what they're working on, and it kind of, and the way that I review people's journals ahead of the templates was that every time for in my own daily journal, if you take a look at the Google Doc, I have a section where review everyone's daily journals. And so I have everyone on the team, and I have like a little DD for today's date. And then I will do a Control F and replace to actually fill out those dates. What's nice with template variables is that now, instead of having to manually fill this out, every morning when I create my daily journal, this will just work. And yeah, anything that is time-based, where you need to update like a note on a daily basis, this can be very helpful.
Awesome. Yeah, and I already mentioned too, with making your first schema, we have a blog post on blog.dendron.so, but we also have it in the docs because we make use of the canonical URL property, which pretty much is saying, hey, if you want to see the blog format, this is where that's located. And to see what that looks like, we have this on our blog site here. And to be notified about new blog posts, usually you'll see notifications inside of the Discord, or if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you'll get a notification in the newsletter, and same with our Twitter. So a variety of channels where we'll have the notifications about that kind of stuff. But yeah, this kind of goes over templates, daily journal notes, and your first schema. And that's kind of, in our case here, if I was going to look at the schema that we use the, let's see, I was already talking about using the 5-minute journal inside of, oh, the rendering's a little bit weird for the numbers, but where we just have the template here for that initial layout. It's a lot about mindfulness and gratitude for daily usage. And now there's also the schema lookup, which is Control-Shift-L instead of Control-L. And that allows you to look at what different schemas you may have configured and available, or to create them directly from here. And this is what it ultimately looks like in the schema example that we provide. We're using the inline schemas, which that allows it to have that indented format, and maybe a little bit easier on the eyes to read and understand that that's what it's nested beneath. And so, and we make use of the basic pattern matching for year, month, and day. And if that toggle screencast gets annoying with all my key presses, maybe. Not sure how annoying that might be. Something else that came out is that we have the show preview. So recently, actually, I was just about to ask for this feature because I've been updating the README files that we have in our repositories. So what you'll notice is that what you've maybe noticed before is when you have a Dendron workspace or a vault, usually on GitHub, you'll see that you have a README-MD file. That's the landing page people see when they come to a repository. But that's not a Dendron node. It's not sitting inside of your vault. And so that show preview used to not be able to know how to render that file. But now I could just go take a look at the README, which is at the root of my workspace. It's not a Dendron node. And here I just have a really basic rendering. But let's see. Let's do the show preview. And there we go. Before, this used to, I think, just be a blank screen. Or so you'd have to do like a different markdown preview, like the built-in one that VS Code has that you could open. But that's no longer the case. So what's cool about this, they don't even have to be in your workspace. They don't even have to be in your, you could open it from a different directory in VS Code, and it should be able to render just fine. So that's an added feature that just came out in this week's release.
And yeah, just adding on to that for show preview, it's one of a bunch of features we'll be rolling out in a larger initiative just to make Dendron work better with like existing workspaces. So when we first launched Dendron was pretty standalone. Like you had to initialize an entire window in workspace for Dendron, and then you would work on your code or other stuff inside another window. And so throughout last year, we've been making that less and less the case. So we released native workspaces, which means that you can initialize a Dendron inside an existing workspace. That means, for example, if you're working on code, you can initialize a workspace in the /docs And now with we also released the file links, so you can link to code from Dendron and vice versa. And then this preview is a further extension of that effort. But we'll be continuing to add features to better integrate Dendron into whatever your existing workflow is within the IDE.
Yeah, and those are really cool additions, because that means you have an existing project already and you want to add docs to the project. Kevin mentioned native workspaces, but the fact that you can then, let's say you have some Python code, in that file you can actually use a wiki link, let's say in your comments, that and you'd be able to link back and forth to your Dendron nodes and the files, because you could even use links directly to that code file, which is really cool. Those are big strides, and allows for that docs as code approach to projects that you're working on. So developer oriented kind of stuff. Well, now actually I'm going to move on to the delete node updates that we've had in enhancements. So I'm just going to reload my index just to make sure that backlinks and everything are properly updated to show this piece off. One thing you might have noticed in the past is if you went to delete a note, what happens to all your wiki links that may be referencing that note? Well, before it used to be like, oh crap, it's kind of gone. That's no longer the case. I believe that was in like 7.5, so not this week, but the previous release. And I could show this off by going to my journal note, which I'm linking right below here. And so if I were to delete this note, that link is going to break. And so let's do a delete node. First, you always get prompted before proceeding, like, are you sure you wanted to delete this note? And then the other piece is that if there are any links that are going to break, you'll get a little node preview that says, I found this in these other notes. And so not only do you have a prompt that's actually saying, you sure you want to delete it, but FYI, there are links that are going to break and so you're going to want to go and change them. So really cool. Remember, we have a lot of refactoring commands where you can move headers between notes. So if you're linking to a particular header section, you can update those links that way. But all the refactoring commands being rename header, move header, rename note, all that stuff by default will be updating wiki links across your notes. And I'm going to choose not to delete that. And we also added a new command called convert link. And convert link is for special note types. So it depends on the way that you'd like it rendered within your editor or within your notes. And what are these special links? These are associated with how we have special user references and hashtags. So user tags and hashtags is what our docs refer to them as. What these are is when you add a tag into a document, this is actually really referencing a note file. And so I can move to it, and it's tags dot name of note. And that's the same with your user items, is that this says @Derek. When I go to it, it's user.Derek. And that's just a shorthand. So you could tag people, let's say, throughout your notes. You could use these different tags to reference, to have all the backlinks appear on a particular page so that you're not just, let's say something keeps feeling like, oh, this is maybe part of one or two hierarchies, or maybe I'd like a nice view that could show me extra connections between my notes. And that's where you can make use of these tags. Now the convert link is a way of choosing to change it to a standard looking wiki link. Now I just changed that to, actually, let me just make that bigger. I'm not sure how big that is on the screen. I changed that to what you would normally see with that that wiki link. But I could also change it right back. And there. So if you're going, oh, I kind of like that format, and before you found yourself having to manually update them, you no longer have to. Let's see. And same with that tag on the special. But yeah, that's the gist of what's going on with those type of, with convert link and what it's capable of doing for us. And the last highlight is about the backlink view, which is what you see when you're inside of your workspace. Is you have your file explorer outline. These are the headers that you have. I don't have any headers in this note right now. The calendar view, this is what helps show you your daily journal items. Tree view for your evolved notes. But backlinks, this one doesn't have any backlinks, so it's not too useful. So what would be a good example? I bet if I can jump into
if you go into changelog,
oh yeah,
wait, are you on the changelog has a ton of backlinks.
Yeah. Okay. So no, by default, this is always listing everything lexicographically, as in it's just alphabetical order in your file types. And you might want to be able to see, but what are the latest notes? The ones that have been updated last that are pointing to a particular note. And you can toggle this view with this little bulleted numeric symbol. And it says sort by last update. And it will change it to then instead the files that were last updated. And so you can change back and forth. And this allows you to, actually, you know what? I could even go to probably to the community office hours too as a good, it just has a Discord channel. But yeah, this allows people to get a better insight into what are the latest and greatest things that are pointing to particular notes that I have. Actually, I could even go to Dendron topic schema, since we've done some updates over here. And this has a whole lot of stuff going on. Right now it's updated by last date. Well, you can see the changelog recently referenced this page. And that's because we have these little enhancement lines that were untyped, allow untyped templates and schemas, expand schema format to allow for inline children. And I could otherwise then just go back to alphabetical or lexicograph. That's interesting. PKG, RFC. Oh, it's because it's reverse sorted, maybe? No.
So the normal sorting is actually like in the order that it is not alphabetical. It is not in order. It is some weird scheme of depending on where your cache was and when it was updated. Anyways, so the numerical ordering is the more useful one at this point.
Got it. Cool. Okay. So that's pretty much been a list of the feature highlights that we had in the past few releases. You can see the release notes, which I include links to inside of the office hours here for more details on everything that was included in those releases too. And yeah, so that's I guess kind of Kevin, unless you have extra stuff to add, we could open for the Q&A.
Yeah, it's so we can open up to Q&A, and for Q&A, essentially, there's a Q&A section at the bottom of the Google Doc. Anyone is free to edit. The link to it is in tea time. There's already one question, and so we can go off there. But also at any time, feel free to unmute and ask a question as well. And I see Ryan has a question in the Discord channel. I'll get to that. But one thing, Derek, when you're going through the demo, I realized that was cool with the backlinks is that we have every section in Dendron under a topic hierarchy. And so if you sort by backlinks of most recently updated, you can kind of see like what the last time a feature was updated. So like for schemas, it was updated very recently because like the changelog shows up as the top entry. Whereas like certain other features, like the changelog would probably be like very, very late. I would, and no further point besides for the fact that I think that's like an interesting use case of like sorting the backlink, of having backlinks be sorted by the most recently updated, because it's actually pretty useful in a lot of cases. Like another case that I use it for is for meeting notes with people. So every person is a note, and then I have a meeting hierarchy that includes the person. And so now when I go into the person note, if I look at all the backlinks by last updated, it gives me essentially like a history list of like all the past interactions from the most recent to the oldest, which actually has been hugely useful. Okay, and then I saw, so Ryan has a question for delete node, and why is it called delete node rather than delete note? Yeah, this has been something that has come up since we introduced it. The reason it's called delete node is because we think of it works on schemas as well as on nodes. And so the base class of both is inside of Dendron, everything is a node. And then a note is a special type of node that is of the note type. And then a schema is a special node that is a schema type. And so we have lookup schema and lookup node because they create nodes of the two different types. And the reason the command is called delete node is because you can use it to delete both schemas and notes. Now, that being said, I think this is the only place where we actually use that terminology. And it's just been, it has been not so helpful in terms of introducing confusion. So we're looking like the terminology for that might change. It might be delete note or schema or something else, but this is the reason why it's delete node. Okay, and then
I was looking if can copy note link work on a schema if it's a node, or is copy note link like extended? Because copy note link works with code files too, right?
Yes. Some are for terminology to be updated for recent changes. Copy, yeah. So I think eventually where we'll be end up going is to have like a generic version, because like copy note link, copy note ref, like those work over files now as well. And so harping on the note part of it will soon no longer be relevant. And so this is stuff that will change over time. And then in terms of like examples of Dendron with like a code workflow, I can share my screen just for, because I was before office hours in the middle of doing a code review. And so that'll be a good example. Okay, so this is my screen. I'm gonna blow up the size just to make it a little easier to see. And I guess some things as background. I use the GitHub pull request extension, which is fantastic. It lets me essentially just review diffs inside VS Code. And so what I'll do, like this is a change. We're doing some internal refactoring to remove some circular dependencies. And so one of the things that we've been doing is inside the Dendron code workspace, we also have the Dendron docs and the Dendron wiki. And something we've been doing for the Dendron docs is having a convention where for every major module, like for example, the workspace watcher, we have a little summary of what this is about. So it's been a while since I worked with the workspace watcher code, and this is inside plugin core. So what I can do is I can plugin core, and we have a node for workspace watcher, for example. And so this summary is just like a high level view of like, what does the workspace watcher do? Where can you find it? And so this is like an example of like the linking to the source code. And then we have some pseudocode on just like high level, like when it initializes, like what is it, how does it initialize, and what actions does it do? And then lastly, we have a list of like past pull requests that affected this module. This is, where the way this is done is like as somebody reviews code and they need to like take some time to understand it, instead of just doing the time, spending that time, and then like doing it again the next time, writing a little summary for it so it makes it easier to do over time. And yeah, so this is like an example. And so like as I review this, or like there's certain things about this that changed, then I will also make sure to like update the summary so it's easier for the next person to take a look at this. And then you'll also note like there are also links in the docs links to the docs. So what's cool is I can go here, and then that'll also take me to the doc file here. And then also, if I was working on a feature, this is an internal refactoring feature, so it doesn't affect the user docs. But if it did affect the user docs, what I do, let's say I was working on refactoring, then I could actually update the user docs as well, and then submit a pull request. Since the code, the user docs, and then the developer docs are in separate repositories, I can manage each of them independently from within the same workspace. And it's been a really, it's a really amazing workflow that we are, continuing to refine, but like it's, yeah, I'm really happy with where we are with it right now, and we'll be doing a lot more work to make this better.
And I come from a background with, I worked heavily on Python projects using Sphinx before, and it was difficult to bounce around between things with Sphinx because of the fact that you didn't have the kind of powers that you're just showing even now with where we are at with Dendron. And that's the same with how, because Sphinx and a lot of other docs tools, they're very focused on the end output. They're so focused on the publishing result. And that makes it more complex from a UI perspective. Like when you're actually doing the development and writing the docs, it's a bit more complicated. And so I really like that Dendron is so heavily focused on the user experience, the developer experience, in addition to the published result. And I think that's a huge differentiator between using something like Dendron versus standard docs tooling.
All right, we're getting close to the end of office hours. Does anyone have questions? Any further questions, comments, notes?
Yeah, I do have a quick question, though. I can always wait if anyone else has a question they feel is more urgent.
I think you're good. Okay. Go for it.
Yeah, well, so this is the first time I'm learning about user tags, and so what I'm noticing is that it's actually using a very similar format to pandoc site keys for markdown. So I think it can end up being an extremely sweet kind of syntax trigger for academic users, right? Like me. So I'm wondering if the sort of default root domain, this user domain for user tags is configurable.
Yeah, right now it's not, but it's something that we will be opening up. In general, so two things, like for user tags. So right now in Dendron, we represent tags and users as special entities. So if you put something in the tag hierarchy, like we display that in a special way. Same if you put something in the user hierarchy. But moving forward, we want to open that up so that anybody, like any hierarchy, can be like have a special representation. And so that is what like note traits will enable. Let me just go over. So we have a whole, and then this is still like in development, but like with note traits, the idea is that anybody can create a special note that will display differently. So today, when you create a new note, the only thing that it will do is you can control the hierarchy. So if you can say like, when I create a new note that is of type Ben, it will append Ben to the current hierarchy. But then what we'll be adding right now on top of on will create is like on display. And so you can control how those notes display, and eventually also how they will trigger. And this is all just like a long-winded way of answering the question of, for the user tags and making it work with pandoc, there's two ways I can see this working. It's like, one, like we'll make the user hierarchy configurable so you can use other hierarchies. But then if you have special academic purposes, like maybe you need like different sort of displays because displaying a citation is different from displaying a user, you can actually customize that and create your own trait. Let's call that like a citation trait, and create your own notes based on that.
Right. So what I'm excited about is the ability to sort of seamlessly put the citation key in there and have it refer to my notes on that document.
Mm-hmm.
That's all for now.
Yeah.
Ben, can you also provide like a link to that pandoc stuff just for people to be able to see in the Tea Time channel or something? Or?
Yeah, I suppose the pandoc manual itself. I'll find the appropriate thing.
Cool. Thanks.
Sure.
Cool. Any more questions? Okay, I think then that's a wrap.
Yeah, and for those who joined late, I'd like you to know that we do record these office hours, so I will be uploading this to our YouTube playlist that goes over these office hours, and we also get the notes that we are doing in the Google Doc. They also get to be uploaded to the Dendron wiki in addition. So we'll have all the things, the notes, in addition to oh yes, looking at some notes right there, in addition to the videos.
Yeah, the office hour notes will also be updated on the site, so you'll be able to see them as well. Unfortunately, VS Code does not play YouTube videos, so you'll need to actually go to the website to see it. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. We will be doing these Discord events. Next week is going to be New User Tuesday. And then the week after that will be office hours, and they'll be rotating. So make sure to take a look at our events Luma page, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.